Let's talk mystery shopping. I've been posting so many fun mystery shops lately, so obviously with that comes a lot of questions from you guys, so I thought I would sit down and film a longer form video to just go through everything from start to finish. And if you have any other questions by the end of this video, definitely go and leave them in the comments. And also if you've done any mystery shopping lately, I would love to hear about it. Pop it in the comments as well. So obviously first things first, what actually is mystery shopping? I know it sounds like such a weird and almost too good to be true kind of side hustle because you're getting paid to shop. But there's a couple of things that actually go into it. So obviously, as the name suggests, you are secretly shopping in either a store, on a website, you're either calling them or you're experiencing a different service. There's so many different examples that you could do, but you're essentially just assessing their level of service, their product, and things like that. And to do this, you'll get given a brief when you get assigned these jobs, and there'll be a bunch of questions on this report that you'll need to fill out based on whatever they're actually looking to evaluate. So basically, companies just want to make sure that their standards are actually being met in whatever store across the country. For them, obviously, it's a lot cheaper to go and find someone in that local area to go and check out the establishment than sending someone from head office and flying them all around the country. If they've got 500 different locations, obviously it's a lot cheaper to pay someone to go out for lunch or test out a service. But obviously because of that, you're actually being hired by the company to go and do a job. So you do need to take it relatively seriously. And that's also why they ask for things like ID and like really try and make sure to confirm who you are, because they're essentially hiring you. So that was one question I did get a lot. If I personally put in things like my passport and any sort of identification, I definitely do. I do a lot of research on the sites that I use, and obviously all of the ones that I trust are in my free guide. I think there's like 6 of them in there. I only pop them in there once I've actually been paid. But all of those sites in my free guide, I have tested myself, I've been paid out. And so that means if identification is required for that company, I have put it in myself and I personally trust it. Obviously do your own research, only do and put in the information that you're actually prepared to put in and that you're comfortable with putting in. But that's just my list down below. So next I wanted to go through the different types of mystery shops that are actually available, because they can vary pretty vastly depending on the app, also just depending on the task itself. So one of the more common ones that you'll find on things like SmartSpotter and Snooper is just the photo checks. So you're either going into like a grocery store and you may be taking photos of the displays, checking stock levels, seeing if different advertisements out. That's the general consensus with the photo ones, and you don't necessarily have to buy things usually. So then next is your experience-based ones. So for me, the most recent one that I did that a lot of people had questions about was my Pilates one. And so for that one, I basically had to review the instructor. I had to say how it was going in as a beginner and basically just how I was treated and what sort of preparation there was there correct stretching, did I get the orientation, was I shown where the bathrooms were, was I shown all of these million different things. And then also I had to wait 5 days to see what sort of follow-up there was. So with those experience-based ones, you're essentially you're evaluating the entire package. So you're evaluating how things are when you first get there, when you arrive, and then also the follow-up up into, it could be 2-3 weeks later. If they're expected to make contact after a week, after 2 weeks, then it might take a little bit longer to complete this shop. But the follow-ups generally don't take much effort. You're essentially just saying, did they call you, yes or no? The next kind of mystery shop that you can be asked to do is a knowledge check. So for this, you're usually assigned a specific question to ask a staff member, and there's basically a list of approved answers that they can give you. And so they might be some like really specific things that they want their employees to say. And that's all you're doing. You're going in, asking the question and just seeing if they get it right. And then the next one is super common, which is like a product review. So this is going, and usually for me is going and getting food, and then you'll take photos on how it's presented to you. You'll say whether it was served, you know, the right temperature, cold, warm, depending on obviously what it is. And just generally showing like how they put it in the bag. Was there napkins given? Was there cutlery given? Super, super basic stuff, but they just want to make sure that their food is being sent out in an appropriate manner. And then the next two are probably the easiest, which is a phone inquiry and then a web inquiry. I've been dabbling these a little bit more just because they're so easy. You don't even need to leave the house, and they're basically what they sound like. So you're either submitting an inquiry through a web form and you're going to see if they're going to call you, and then also the phone inquiry is to see if they're going to ask the right questions, if they're going to know the answers to the different questions. There's just a bunch of different things, but you generally don't have to leave the house, so that is amazing. So another question that I get a lot is, do I need an ABN? So this one varies from company. A lot of them you can just fill out a separate form. Basically, when you're going through the sign up process, it'll say, do you have an ABN? And if it's a no, they'll give you a form to fill out. It just makes the process a little bit longer. I think a couple of them do require an ABN. It's so easy to set up if you're willing to go down that route. I personally do have an ABN, obviously because I'm doing this full time, I do need an ABN, but also it's absolutely not necessary. My mum does mystery shopping all the time. She doesn't have an ABN, so it's not necessary, but it does make it easier. And coming straight off that, the next question after that is always, how do you pay tax on this? I'm not a tax professional, so obviously different circumstances, things are going to be so different compared to you and me. I personally use an accounting service called Henry. I'll link it below if you want to go and check it out, but it's usually just for like sole traders and small businesses and things like that. And they just handle all of the tax for me when I have tax questions, because I do all the time, because I have no idea on any of that sort of tax realm. I generally have no idea. So I ask them directly. There's a few like allocated accountants for you. So definitely either go to someone that you trust for your accounting sort of questions, or just ask directly to the ATO. That's always going to be the most two solid options. So now I'm going to go through how to actually sign up. So obviously if you go below, look in my stand store, you'll see the link to my free guide. In there has every single mystery shopping site that I use. Go onto those. It's going to take a hot second to sign up to. I'm going to be completely honest. So maybe if you just do one per day, that might do you. The sign up process generally has some form of like test. And this is just to make sure that you can accurately fill out a report. So generally it'll give you some sort of scenario and you just need to fill it out how you would a normal mystery shopping report. And truthfully, if you're not willing to fill out those reports, you probably won't like the mystery shopping report. So go and have a look at it. If it's not your thing, the entire mystery shopping thing just might not be your thing, because those reports are the most important part for companies. They're definitely not hard by any means. They just want to make sure that you have really good spelling and grammar, that you can use full sentences, that you can go into detail. You always want to be objective and not judgmental. So you just want to say, you know, the food was presented this way. You don't want to say, you know, the staff, you know, kind of gave me a cranky look and blah, blah, blah. You don't want to be judgmental. You just want to say what happened objectively. Another question I've got a couple of times is, can you do multiple in one day? Yes, absolutely. A lot of them you do have to actually book in on a specific day. So you might know that you've got a mystery shop coming up in 2 weeks. So generally if I'm going a little bit further, I'll try and book like 3 or 4 in the same area and line them up. And that might not all be for one company. So that's why I like to get on as many different sites as I possibly can. So then if I do want to drive like 40 minutes to a different area, I can get like a really good bang for my buck and I can knock out 3 or 4. Another question that I got so much was, where did the specific jobs actually come from? So I'm going to go through sort of my most popular jobs and I'll tell you which site had those. But also keep in mind that these change all the time and these aren't always going to be available. So I always say get on as many as you can. Things like Field Agent, Smart Spotter and Snooper, they're generally the smaller jobs. And then things like Shopper Now, Mystery Customer, Human Experience, those are going to pay you for more of the like experience and food type jobs and not just going and taking photos. So it really just depends on what you're actually looking for. I like to do the like Snooper, Smart Spotter, those sort of jobs, taking photos when I'm just already out doing groceries. So if I'm already going to Woolies, I'll check on those and I might be able to make, you know, $10, $12, $15 just while I'm already at the grocery store. But where did the actual jobs come from? So my number one question, Pilates, that was through Human Experience. And that is the same with Oakberry. Now they did pay me out, I think yesterday, so I need to add them to my guide. They should be updated below. So that one was through Human Experience. I'm testing out Mystery Customer right now, which is for the more web and phone based. So I'll definitely add that in once I've been paid as well. As for my jobs like Grilled, that's always through Shopper Now. I absolutely love Shopper Now. They're one of my most like consistent ones. It's also where I got my free cheesecake through the Cheesecake Shop. So that was also a really, really good one. For that one, you really have to check at the right time of the month. So generally it's around like 17th, 18th, 19th. They'll add all of the new jobs for the next month. So if you're checking that one every day, you're probably not going to see new jobs pop up, but check it around that time. Set a reminder if you need to. That's when the new jobs go on there and you can sort of select for the next month which jobs that you want to do. Aldi is a massive one. Aldi I always do through Mystery Management. They also have a bunch of different hospitality venues and also they do public transport as well. So I haven't personally done those two, but the Aldi ones I did for them were great. And so if you're already going to Aldi, that's such an easy win. Now, getting paid and how you actually get paid obviously varies from like the app and the website, but for I think about 90% of them, it's just a straight bank transfer. So it's really, really easy, and it generally happens within about 2 weeks. The reports do have to get like evaluated and actually ticked off. So if there's any missing information, they can come back to you. But generally it takes about 2 weeks for the bigger jobs. For things like Snooper, Smart Spotter, Field Agent, they generally take within like 24 hours, you'll have the money. But for those three, they do have sort of a minimum cash out, whereas the other ones, they'll just pay you for the job and the reimbursement either every 2 weeks, or I think one of them pays you like every month. Yeah, let me know in the comments below if you have any other questions about mystery shopping. I would love to answer them for you. I've been loving doing mystery shopping the last few months. It's like one of my favorite things to do. If you want me to deep dive into any other side hustles like market research or surveys in a more longer form video, leave your comments below and just let me know what you specifically need to know about them, because I know it can be a little bit overwhelming getting it all set up.